I have a feeling that I might be headed into a reading slump. I had a 6-star read this month, and ever since, it's been steadily going downhill. So I feel like we should wrap up all the books that I read this month. But first, if you are looking forward to seeing my top books of 2025, I did post a short on my channel. I also have another short where I break down my favorite books by genre for 2025. So I'll have my young adult there, my fantasy, romance, thriller, everything like that in that short there. Otherwise, let's get into it. Starting with my 6-star read, my first ever 6-star read, The Wedding People. This one, I won't go in too much into depth because I did a full video on it alone. However, I will do a little bit of the plot. So the plot of this book, we've got Phoebe. She is planning to take her own life, and she goes and checks herself into a hotel, which happens to be booked fully for Lila's wedding. It's kind of a mistake that they took Phoebe's reservation to begin with, but they're not going to turn her away. So she runs into the bride in the elevator, and the bride asks her, "Are you part of the groom or the bride's party?" And she looks at her and she's like, "Well, what do you mean you don't know?" And apparently Lila has this huge family, so she doesn't even know who's part of her side. And so she tells her, "I'm actually not here for the wedding. I'm here to take my own life." Lila freaks out, understandably. However, not because of what Phoebe plans to do, because of Phoebe planning to do it at her wedding. A little bit of a bridezilla moment. However, maybe that's exactly what Phoebe needed because it managed to spin her life around. This is a story about more self-discovery and self-check-in points and self-development. If you want to know more about it, you can check out my video down below. I put so many thoughts into it. I really loved all the quotes, and that was my first 6-star read ever. I always saved 6 stars for a book that I reread, but I don't really reread books, so nobody has taken that title. This one got the title because of how many annotations I wrote down in my notes. I didn't annotate it myself because it wasn't my copy. However, I think I might buy a copy just to annotate it. Next up, we have Fake Skating. This one was a 5-star for me. I really liked it. I really like Lynn Painter's young adult books. I don't think that her adult books are as good. That's just my opinion. I feel like she does a really good job of doing chemistry with no spice. Lots of authors struggle with that, and Lynn Painter does it really well. I felt this book was lighthearted, but it also had enough conflict going in it. The plot for this book, we've got Danny and Alec. Alec does hockey in his hometown. He's lived there his whole life. Danny has been part of like an Air Force family, so she moves around from town to town all the time, and she met Alec going back home to see her grandpa in the summers, and that's kind of how they met. They grew up as kids, and then she just stopped coming back when her grandpa had a falling out with her dad. Now her parents are divorced and her mom is moving back to her grandpa's, which means she's moving back to the same town as Alec. They're seeing each other for the first time in many years. They used to be pen pals and then mysteriously that dropped off. We're not supposed to know how yet, but it makes it a little bit awkward because they both were still writing and not getting a reply. So they're going to see if they can salvage their friendship while navigating high school and headed into college. Next 5-star read is Rock, Paper, Scissors. I've been wanting to read this one for a while, and I got a really snowy day, so I had to pick it up because this one involves being like in a storm, in a blackout. It's like a blizzard storm, all the power goes out, generators don't work, that type of a storm. And that's the type of storm that I was having, so this made a perfect read for that. This one's a thriller book. It is about a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Wright. The male is a screenwriter for movies. He's struggling at the start and then eventually becomes successful. However, Mr. and Mrs. Wright are struggling. Their marriage is on the rocks. They have one last plan to put it back on track. They are going to go away for a weekend getaway. They won this weekend getaway. It's off in the Scottish Highlands, middle of nowhere, little cottage. Perfect. Exactly what they're looking for to reconnect. However, things don't go to plan. Apparently the cottage is haunted, they're seeing things go suspicious, and everything's just all around creepy. It doesn't help that both of them are hiding secrets from each other. This one is a good suspenseful thriller, has multiple POVs, also has like letters that flash back in the past. I thought it was a really good one. I did not see the plot twist coming, and I feel like this would be one that if you reread it, you should be looking more for the hints. So when you read it carefully. It is quick and fast-paced, which is one of my #1 rules for any thriller. Definitely a 5-star read for me. Now I will tell you right now, I've just had 2 5-star reads and a 6-star read to start us off. I think because we started off so strong this month, it just gradually got worse. I mean, this one's a 4-star. It's not bad. On Wings of Blood. This one, it just felt like we were trying to knock off as many tropes as possible, and it felt rushed. Not like in terms of length or pacing, just I felt like they were trying to check all the boxes but not going through them fully, just like a quick bite, not like a full digestion of the tropes. And that's why I'm saying it felt like they were just trying to rush through everything just to be trendy. It is a slow burn. It felt a little fan fiction-y, which isn't a bad thing if you're looking for it, but I wasn't looking for it. I will be continuing this series in hopes that it gets better because there was this one part that I can't tell you without spoiling, but they just kept dangling the carrot in front of you. And then you finally got a little taste in like the last page. And I was like, well, fine then. I guess I'll be reading book 2. I feel like this is kind of like a filler series for me in between my other series, like maybe a palate cleanser, so I don't judge them as harshly. But that means I'm judging this one way more harshly. So I understand this is an intro to a whole new world, whole new series. However, it felt like we were dumping. Like, there was no gradual building blocks in building this world. It was just throwing everything at the reader at once. We have fairies in one realm, we have dragons in another, we have vampires in this one, and it felt like so much, and they weren't gradually building. It felt like a rush just to try and grab the reader's attention to keep you hanging around. Just like I said with like that little carrot at the end. If that's the only reason you were there, you had to wait the whole 500 pages before you got a little taste. What is the plot for this book? So we've got Medra. She is our main character. She, I believe, is either half or full fae. We don't really know her backstory 100%. Like, we're getting little glimpses because she has awoken, kind of not really realized where she was. Apparently, she's in a new dimension. She's found by this vampire. He's kind of like the prince of vampires. They have like different houses, and he's really important in the leading house. He finds her, brings her back to the council. They decide she has bright red hair. They don't decide that she has bright red hair. They see it, okay? That she looks not at all like them. She's got the bright red hair, and that must mean that she is descended from the dragon riders. Apparently, they've been extinct forever, same with the dragons. So, because of this blood in her veins, they've decided she must be powerful. Probably going to breed her is what they've decided. Rather than kill her, she might be an omen. They've decided to make her a second consort to Blake. Neither of them are happy about this situation, and she must go to the Bloodwing Academy, which is like the school for vampires to become, I don't know, all strong and everything. They teach them all the basics. So she needs to get through that, even though she's not a vampire. They do also let humans go through this because I guess it teaches like scouting and different skills, healing, stuff like that. It finds your strengths and makes you part of like an army unit. So she despises the vampires. However, she is a consort to one of the vampires, so she has to hang around them a lot, has to go through these trials, has to pretty much fight to exist because everyone wants to drink her blood. However, she wants to go home. That's all she really wants, and that is the struggle of this novel. And I'm assuming this whole series is kill all the vampires and get home. This is another 4-star. The Perfect Sun by Frida McFadden, another thriller. I had quite a few thrillers this month. Not that December is very thrillery, it's just they were all left over from October and I have to get through them. So the plot for this book, we have our perfect family. Mom, dad, sister, and son. The son is her perfect son. We're in the mom's POV, by the way. So she idolizes her son, loves her son, really struggles with the relationship with her daughter. However, she's trying. She will fully admit that her favorite child is her son. He's perfect in every way. However, he is a little violent, I guess. It would be maybe the best way to describe him. And anytime he likes a girl, she has like this PI that she hires to like intervene because she thinks that he will kill the girls. So not so much a perfect son, but she hears through her daughter that he currently has a crush on a girl named Olivia. She hires her PI. He does his thing. However, Olivia goes missing. The whole time, the mom 110% thinks that the son is guilty. Daughter and her husband both say, like, no, like, our son is too good-hearted to be doing stuff like that. I don't know where you're coming from. She is trying to prove that her son did it, but at the same time doesn't want her son to be guilty. I really don't know where her train of thought is with that. However, we go through the story of finding out who took Olivia, what they did to her, and how is she going to get home, and if she will. This, I think, was one of Frida McFadden's better thrillers. However, it did not follow the name theory. I have previously mentioned that this author likes twisting names as their plot twist. However, there is a name twist, but it's not part of the plot twist. There was good build up for the plot twist, and there was a very ominous ending. I was worried because this one was about minors that I wasn't going to like it because I hated the teacher, it was an ick for me. However, I did like this one much better. Next one is another thriller, No One Is Watching. This one here was another 4-star for me. Right off the bat, I didn't get a thriller vibe. It felt more like they were commenting on like society or like political, how white rich people were taking over low income areas, but like the more you read it, it definitely becomes a thriller. This one has a slow ramp up, but I feel like it could use more of an epilogue. I feel like they definitely needed to tie up more loose ends. Instead, they kind of just let them unravel even further. If they want to do like a book 2, I understand that that's maybe where they were headed, but I don't know really where you'd get a book 2 out of this. So I just wish there had been a little bit more closure in the ending. This one has a dual POV. We've got Sydney and we've got Theo. Sydney has grown up in this low-income area of Brooklyn. She knows all her neighbors, but they're slowly disappearing. They're selling or new people are just moving in. Across the way, we have Theo. He is in with his girlfriend, and they don't get along. Very, very tense environment, but the idea was she comes from money, he does not. They bought this house to be a fixer-upper because it's an up-and-coming neighborhood is what the realtor kept telling them. And Theo's just kind of a little bit more interested in the neighborhood and the community than his girlfriend is for sure. She just wants new neighbors. Then we've got Sydney. She is struggling with her mom. She's got bad health issues and she's fighting tooth and nail to keep the house. There are constantly real estate agents lurking in the streets, trying to get people to sell, trying to convince them. And she's just noticing that people are disappearing, going off to visit that aunt down in the south without any notice. Another one is last time they saw them, they were on the subway and they never came to dinner. Stuff like that. People are just disappearing, but there's always these excuses and then new people come into their house. So we are following Sydney trying to fight to keep her house and to keep her neighbors safe. Then we have Theo. He's in with the white rich people who are taking over the neighborhood. However, he's looking in and he's sympathizing with the community and he's trying to empower them and go along with them and fight with them. So he's kind of like a double agent a little bit, but they see right through the facade. Another thriller, 9 Lives. This one was only 3 stars for me. I read it because I remember reading something else by Peter Swanson, and I think it was The Kind Worth Killing. And I remember reading that and enjoying it. That was before I really got back into reading. So I can't really remember what it was about, but I figured I'd give it another shot. Nothing against his writing, but I don't like repetitive plots. So for example, 9 Lives, there were 9 people. That makes a lot of rotating POVs. It makes it kind of jumpy. And the amount of names in this book. Why do I need to know the name of the secretary who's on vacation for 2 weeks? She is not contributing to the story, yet here you are giving me her name. And when you do that through 9 POVs, that is way too many names to keep track of. Thank God there was a list at the front. But then again, I just got so turned around and confused with who was who. I'm giving it only 3 stars because it used one of my least favorite plot twists, and because there was way too much names. If you want to know the plot for this book, we've got 9 people. 9 people all receive a letter in the mail with no return address. In this letter, there is a list of names. 9 names, and all of them are slowly dying. Essentially, it is a murder list. One of the people on this list is an FBI agent, which means that this case gets taken way more seriously, way faster than it should have. So we rotate through POVs, people trying to go through extents to avoid being killed, people dying slowly one by one, and it just kind of felt a little bit jumpy, and you knew where it was going. It happened 9 times. That's pretty much the plot of the book, is following 9 people around trying to run away from the killer. We will end this with 2 DNFs. One is Good Spirits. I really wanted to try another B.K. Borison book, and this was just a mood read no for me. It came out in October because it has to deal with ghosts, but it looks like a Christmas cover. So I saved it to December, and then it was talking like Christmas ghosts, like Christmas past, present, future, and I wasn't vibing, so I passed on that. I don't even think I got 50 pages in. This one, Alchemy of Secrets, another DNF. I did get 50 pages in because I loved her Caraval series. However, I'm beginning to think that might be an outlier. I was very excited for this book because of the author, and it is supposed to be an adult fantasy, and it's reading like a YA fantasy. So I think I need to be a little skeptical of the author's fantasy books, but even when I'm looking at Once Upon a Broken Heart, still didn't enjoy that nearly as much as Caraval. So I'm gonna finish the Once Upon a Broken Heart series in case it gets better, but I don't think I will be picking up this series. I think this one's gonna be a DNF and stay that way. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. You can comment down below your favorite book of the month, or if you read any of the books that I talked about, you can comment how many stars you rated them. You can also like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.